Okay, we're in the unboxing room, but this is not an unboxing. Instead, this week, I'm going to do one I've been planning on doing for a long time, and I kept putting it off because it's a lot of work. It was, believe me. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at a lot of the various formats of collected edition hardcovers and some non-hardcovers. But we're going to compare them to each other. And as you can see here, I have a bunch of selections lined up from largest to smallest. And we're going to go through and identify what these are. And then at the end of this, I'm going to talk about what my favorites are. I bet you can guess, but maybe not. Now, I'm not saying this is every format there is, but this is a pretty good snapshot of what's out there. There are a lot of oddballs that fit in between here, but I'm going to hit the majority of them with this video. That's my goal. So, before we get into these, I think we need to go back in time a little bit and take a look at where all this came from, where we started, and maybe we can figure out where we're going. I don't know. But, so, way back when we had stapled comic books. And we still have those, obviously. Now, how's the glare?
It's not bad.
Okay. So this is a 12 center. And this Dell here is a 15 center, this old Turok. Now, these are so wide that they will not fit in a standard box like this. They won't fit in there. You have to turn them like that, or you got to get a different kind of box. Just thought I'd mention that. So, now these are about 32 pages. Like a brand new comic book you buy off the stands today is 32 pages. More or less. Now that's violated sometimes. But what has changed is the trim size. So, as you can see here, over the years they have trimmed them down and cut them down mainly in width, but a little bit of height we've lost also. Now, this is from early 2000s, I think. I didn't write down the exact year on that. But now here's an old Conan from the late 70s. I don't know if you can tell, but they're basically the same size. I mean, there's a small difference, but they're basically the same size. Yeah, these are all in, well, not this, but these two are both in the standard size Mylite 2 Mylar bags that I buy from E. Gerber. Just to give you a point of reference there. So, we'll get back to that. So we'll compare it to these trim sizes. Now, of course, there were magazine-sized comics, like this Epic Illustrated #1. And this was the sort of a love-hate thing I had as a child with this size. This is the Marvel Treasury Edition, the original Marvel Treasury Edition. I know there is a modern one now that's also softcover, and I think it's about the same size. But the problem with these, they were a joy to read because they're so big. I remember as a little kid, they seemed even larger than they do now. But the problem with them was nobody had these treasury-sized bags. I mean, I'm not even sure how I scored this one because they're still not that common. So, and you had these big, giant, square-bound comic books. It's pretty cool. Kristen actually scored this copy for me at a little bookshop somewhere she found in her travels. She's a traveler. I'm not. But anyway, so I mean, you know, it's a beautiful size. But the problem was trying to keep something like this in good condition because they wouldn't fit in your bags. They wouldn't fit in your boxes. So I read Star Wars, Marvel's adaptation of Star Wars in this format. So it was a Treasury edition that reprinted Marvel's adaptation with the Howard Chaykin art of the first Star Wars film. And I read that weeks before I got to see the movie. Anyway, so let's get to this. So at the top here, the highest, this is my copy of Marvel's, I believe it's called the Platinum Slipcase Edition. So, and this Avengers over here, this is Avengers the Vibranium Collection. And it's the same size. Very precarious here with the books. Trying not to get them to fall, because this is a utility table, and it is not perfectly solid. It has a little give to it, you know. So I'm taking a big chance to make this video, so I hope you guys appreciate it. Anyway, so this is the upper limit of what I call too big. this format is just about at the upper limit of what I would consider doable as far as reading it. I mean, you got to have a big area to read it. It's really heavy. You could hurt yourself, or you could hurt the book if you drop it, because its own weight is going to just break it apart. But it is a giant hardcover. Now, I do have a couple of hardcovers even larger than this, and I will link the review of that so you can check it out, of my Eternals Monster Size Edition, which is even bigger than this, but it is very gimmicky. It's like this tall. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's nice seeing Kirby's art that size. And I have the Steve Ditko's Strange also. I've never showed that one, but I have that too. But that size I consider more of a gimmick than anything. And this size is a little gimmicky too. So where it begins for me for a more ideal size starts about here. Now this book is my Invincible Iron Man Artist Select Edition, Bob Layton. And this is by IDW. And as you can see, it is a big boy, but it is usable. It's not too bad to read this. And then next down, we've got a Marvel Gallery edition of Jim Starlin's Warlock. Now, I love this. Preview, this might be my favorite format, but we'll get to that at the end. And it's just a little bit smaller than this as far as height. Now here, we've got a DC Absolute of Scarlet. Now, it is, as you can see, this surprised me because, you know, before I thought that this was actually about the same size. There it went. I knew it would happen. My wife's been going, it's falling. She's been, you know, my camera person back there, she's going, it's going to fall. I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, got to hold it. Anyway, so yeah, the Marvel Gallery edition is a little bit taller than an Absolute. It's also a little bit deeper. You can't see that in the shot, but there's about that much more depth back here. Okay. And then we get to Wicca. Now this is Titan. This is a Titan hardcover. This is an import of a European album. I was told that's what they're called in Europe. Comic books are called albums. And it's an even larger format there, and it's actually reduced for the American market. So I can't imagine. It must be about this size over there. Maybe this size. I don't know. But so this is just about the exact same trim size as far as height as an Absolute, but it's about that much wider. So it's deep too. And it's a nice edition too. And then the next one up, we've got the Dark Horse Library Edition. Another fantastic build quality on this, and it's a really nice size. Still very, very oversized. Then over here, you got one that I don't see too many of. I only own two in this format. This is the Image Prestige format hardcover. And it is just about exactly the same trim size as a Dark Horse Library. Then we come to Boom. So this is the Boom Studios slipcase oversized hardcover of Once and Future, Volume 1. And this one, see, one thing when you're comparing these you got to keep in mind is the slipcase itself takes up some height. And so does the boards that the different publishers use to get to the actual trim size of the page. You got to kind of minus those out. But even taking all that into account, this is a little bit shorter and a little bit less depth than the Image Prestige editions. Then we come to TKO. Now this is an interesting one because it's almost as tall as this one, and it's about the same depth, still very oversized. Then we come to one of my other favorite formats and publishers. This is Image in their standard oversized hardcover. This is Velvet, and it is almost the same height as the TKO. The TKO uses a little bit taller board, so the gap here between the top of the board and the page endings is a little bit deeper on this than this, but this still has a little bit larger pages, a little bit. Right next to that, we got a Marvel Omnibus, the ipso facto darling of the collected edition community. The Marvel Omnibus is oversized, and it's really, the trim size, it's just about exactly the same as an Image oversized hardcover. They just tend to be thicker and more expensive. So, then we come down to the ones I don't care for, but I will buy reluctantly sometimes. This is the standard size hardcover. Now what that means is the trim size of the interior pages are about the same as a regular comic book. You're not gaining anything on the art there. But then it seems a little taller if you compare them directly. See if I can do that without upsetting my apple cart. But again, you have a little bit taken up with the height of the board. So that's how that works. See if I can get it back in there now. Okay. Then here, we start getting into some oddball, what I call oddball formats. So this is a soft cover compendium of Sweet Tooth. So this is actually, let's see, less than original size, but not by much, just a little bit. So they've cut down the interior pages just a hair. And of course there's no sewn binding because it is a soft cover, it's just glued. But I have to say it is very robust. And as my daughter says, it has a really good flop factor. So these are very, very readable editions. So if I can't get a good oversized hardcover, I'm not really opposed to this if that's the best I can get. Now, I know these did come out in oversized hardcover, but I missed that train. So I ended up getting it this way. So then this, same thing with this. I did not manage to get a hardcover this. So this is, I think this is top shelf. Let me take a look. Yeah, this is the top shelf printing of Essex County. Let's see if I can wedge it, maybe. Wow. Okay. I don't think I'll even cut that out. I'm going to let you guys see that. But, so this is the top. This is basically, it's a soft cover compendium. Very similar to this. But it is shorter. You can see. So this is really approaching what I would consider a digest size. And again, it's soft cover. It's fairly readable. It's not, it doesn't have quite the flop factor of this, but you know. So what's a digest? Well, to me, a digest is something that approaches the size of the old TV guides. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember TV Guide, but they were digest size. These are all examples of what I consider a digest size comic book. So they're trade paperbacks, they're soft, but they're quite a bit of cut down trim size. This is actually the sequel to Repo Man, written by Alex Cox, the writer and director of Repo Man, in case anybody wonders what this is. It's kind of crazy. I love it. So, that's an overview of that. And then you got some editions that just break all the rules and throw them all out the friggin' window, like Reed Chancellor's Summer Vacation. So it's a trade paperback, but it's 16 by 9 widescreen format. So what size is this? Well, you tell me. It's a little bit bigger than that. I don't know. Reed Chancellor, he's a rule breaker. Pick this up if you can. I'll put a link in the description. So it's not as tall as a comic book, but it's, I don't know, it's deeper maybe? I don't know. It's its own thing. But, so, what are my favorite formats? If I could choose any format for my favoriteest things, what would I put them in? Probably this guy here. The Marvel Gallery Edition. And it is a hell of a buy, too. Unlike some of the Marvel omnibuses, the dollar per page factor is pretty good with the Marvel Gallery. And they're robust books, too. Build quality is excellent. So, yeah. So that's probably my favorite. I also really like the Image standard oversized hardcovers. I shouldn't say standard, that's confusing. The regular oversized hardcover by Image is really nice. But probably my two favorites are probably the Marvel Gallery, the Dark Horse Library. These are wonderful. I have never had a Dark Horse Library edition that wasn't spectacular build quality. Really, and the price point is great. But at any rate, yeah. So my favorite formats are probably the Gallery Edition, the Dark Horse Library Edition, the Image standard hardcover, this guy here, and of course the Marvel Omnibus is pretty nice. I mean, what saves this is that most of my favorite properties, they're going to be in this format, and they're not going to be in the others. You know, if I had my druthers, like I said, it'd be gallery editions all the way down. Yeah, and absolutes, and Dark Horse libraries, and then Marvel omnibuses and image hardcovers, something like that. I'll try to put them in a proper order and throw a graphic up here, but it's hard to choose. Luckily, we're in a sort of a golden age of collected editions right now, and you don't have to choose. You can have them all if you're willing to spend the money and if you're willing to track them down. So that's all I got for this week. Hope you guys like that. Subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss out. And if you want to help support me, you can look at my Patreon. You can join that. There's no limits. You just choose whatever you want. And I'll see you next time.